always trying to get more information, always trying to assist wherever necessary in terms of talents who are on it, presenting information, and the information is accurate.
She would always have a handle on her news team, her reporters, editors, and cameramen, encouraging them to think out the box in terms of their development. So that's something I always admired about her.
She was there, alert, and like I said, looking over what was going on in the newsroom. Sure, contemplating or thinking about what she's going to do next, or what angle we're going to take next. So that's the type of person she was. Always ready for the next day or for the next news story.
I said, but Natalie, I don't see me coming in to do it. He said, no, we need your help. And I said, well, put it this way, for you and for country, okay? For you and for country.
And so while we were working non-stop, I remember coming off the set for a coffee break and Natalie telling me, just take an hour's nap, just do something, rest yourself. And I said, well, Natalie, if you want us to rest, when will you rest? And she said, well, if I rest, then, you know, you still have to get ready for this next show. And so literally, I don't even remember Natalie taking a nap during Dorian.
Our beloved Natalie Martinborough is now resting in peace.
You already give those coordinates. I'll just repeat them. 26.6 degrees north longitude, 77.6 west. That puts the center of Dorian some 75 miles due east of Freeport, Grand Bahama. It now moving towards the west at a slow forward speed.
What can you tell us?
The air was thick with anticipation as our team prepared for what could become one of the most intense coverages we had ever undertaken.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think we're going to need Ricardo and Sheena to come up for the 8 p.m. show.
With every piece of equipment set and every plan meticulously laid out.
Teams dispatched. Both Grand Bahama and Abaco. We have to get up there.
We were ready, or so we thought.
And our coverage continues from Grand Bahama right now.
Welcome back to our continued coverage of Hurricane Dorian, a monstrous Category 5 storm that is now making its way.
No amount of preparation could fully brace us for the storm that was about to descend. And when it did, the newsroom became a hive of activity, with every moment captured live as Dorian unleashed its fury.
We also had a team that was leaving the island, going to Abaco, getting them sorted out and making sure that they had all the equipment and supplies, food, and all the necessary things they needed while being off island as well.
Preparations are always basically the same from an engineering standpoint or looking at the facilities. Everybody that has a role in producing coverage or helping to produce the coverage, engineering's role really is just to ensure that whatever it is that they're working with, that it is able to work, that it's ready to work, and that it could stay working.
Among those on the front lines were the cameramen, tasked with capturing the unfolding crisis in real time. Armed with their gear and a sense of duty, they were ready to document history as it happened, no matter the risks. This is their story as they braced, knowing that their work would be the eyes of the nation.
It was what I would call a cameraman's dream, if that makes sense. You know, when we prepare for storms, most likely as a cameraman, you want to get into the action. So that was my first preparation, is just knowing that, listen, this time is go time. So one thing Zedden has taught us is that family first. Make sure your family in order, your house has to be in order, because the first thing is that we have to now come to ZNS, we have to sleep. So first our action is safety for your family and making sure, listen, this go time, this is a storm, you want to get into the action, you want to get the nice shots, what you need, but we wasn't prepared for what was next.
My role was to capture what we call behind the scenes or content. All of that content was needed to be infused in the shows that we were going to develop. And I just recall working long hours. So for me, it was just a regular day at the office, and just engage with what I was doing.
That day, I went to Dolly Madison. Fine gentleman allowed me to use his barn and get a generator, which I lost in the storm that night. But anyway, moving too fast. I purchased a generator, put it in the back of my car. I came to work. My kids were situated in Hudson. At that time, my 2 girls was down from Nassau, and my other 2 girls was here. So I situated them in Hudson, their snacks and their drinks and all. And I told my wife, who was an under assistant, everything's gonna be all right. They're fine. They're gonna be okay.
What you think, Roger? What you see out there?
Me and Philippe, we worked together. We were teammates. So we checked the beach out. We got some early shots on the beach. I am worried, you know, because I could see the calm before the storm. You know, I walk out to the beach and check it out. Oh, it's okay. I'm saying it's okay, but I know something wasn't right. And I had a friend who I grew up with. His name is Jason Fernando. We were in contact. He lives in Chicago. All right, Jason, this is the night here. Storm's starting to come in. And he keeps saying to me, Roger, the storm don't look good.
The idea of taking swimming lessons to the Bahamian public was something that we thought was a great idea, and so we started Let's Swim Bahamas.
I've always been a learn-to-swim coach and a life-saving coach, and so this is now my turn to kind of really see learn to swim being developed.
Although we ran swift swimming for some 30 years, and we offered Let's Swim lessons, we knew we were only touching a small percentage of the Bahamian public.
I enjoy the children and how happy and excited and joyful they are. I mean, some of them come from maybe hard homes. Maybe they're bullied at school. Who knows what they have? But when they come here, it's a very positive thing for them.
At the end of the day, more kids will be fulfilled, more kids will have a life-saving skill, and more kids will stay away from crime.
Crime-free.
Looks like me.
Do your part. Join the movement to a safer Bahamas.
By giving unconditionally, not expecting anything in return, I thought it was a wonderful way of showing this love, and I believe that it is love that truly draws people, and so I thought we could cover a lot more people by feeding. Volunteers, you know, they have truly been sold.
My passion is to help, and I thank God for what I can do through the help of Bahamas Feeding Network.
You're watching the ZNS Network, the People's Station.
We don't watch as many of those easterly waves coming off the coast of
Now
Africa.
we could potentially see some development here in the next...
That's the day it all began.
A very compact and potent storm that continues to increase in intensity.
Out in the middle of the Atlantic. Just a cluster of thunderstorms at first. But those storms had a plan.
Just 6 hours later, it was Tropical Storm Dorian.
They would grow into something much bigger. Something no one could have imagined. This was the start of Hurricane Dorian. As it moved through the warm ocean waters, Dorian began to gain strength and fast. Day by day, it grew stronger. And with every update, there was this growing sense of unease.
Winds have been bumped up to 160 miles
Bahamians were watching, waiting, hoping it would turn away.
As well, so they upgraded.
But deep down, they knew they had to prepare for the worst. By August 28th, Dorian was a Category 1 hurricane. Within 48 hours, it had transformed into a Category 5 monster. Then came September 1st, the day the nightmare became real. It hit Abaco first, and then set its sights on Grand Bahama. The storm didn't just pass through, it parked itself over the island for more than a day. The winds were deafening like a freight train that wouldn't stop, ripping roofs off homes, snapping trees in half, and tossing cars like they were nothing. The storm surge was even more terrifying. Water rushed in, drowning entire communities, turning roads into rivers and neighborhoods into isolated patches of land. But while everyone was hunkered down in their homes, prepping to brave the storm, there was a group of dedicated individuals who were putting on their raincoats and saying goodbye to their husbands, wives, children, and families. They weren't heading to safety. They were heading to work, to document the storm for the people of the Bahamas. Those dedicated individuals are employees of ZNS Northern Service. In the quiet moments before the storm, there was a leader who stood tall, guiding us through the darkest moments that we experienced during Hurricane Dorian. Her legacy is one we carry with us every day, especially when we look back during those trying hours. Her vision and dedication during Hurricane Dorian remain etched in our hearts forever. As we remember her, we take you back to the days leading up to Hurricane Dorian, where the weight of what was to come began to settle in the newsroom.
A lot of times people look at the persons in front of the camera as the heroes, but the heroes oftentimes are the one that you never see. Natalie essentially was the brainchild of the operation. She was the writer, she was the producer, she was the editor. She was responsible for collecting all of the information, all of the late-breaking news. She at one point became the EOC center because a lot of the messages started being filtered through her phone.
She was always diligent, always trying to get more information, always trying to assist wherever necessary in terms of talents who are on it, presenting information, and the information is accurate.
She would always have a handle on her news team, her reporters, editors, and cameramen, encouraging them to think out the box in terms of their development. So that's something that I always admired about her.
She was there, alert, and like I said, looking over what was going on in the newsroom. I'm sure contemplating or thinking about what she's going to do next, or what angle we're going to take next. So that's the type of person she was. Always ready for the next day or for the next news story.
I said, but Natalie, I don't see me coming in to do it. He said, no, we need your help. And I said, well, put it this way, for you and for country, okay? For you and for country.
And so while we were working non-stop, I remember coming off the set for a coffee break and Natalie telling me, just take an hour's nap, just do something, rest yourself. And I said, well, Natalie, if you want us to rest, when will you rest? And she said, well, if I rest, then, you still have to get ready for this next show. And so literally, I don't even remember Natalie taking a nap during Dorian.
Our beloved Natalie Martinborough is now resting in peace.
You already give those coordinates. I'll just repeat them. 26.6 degrees north longitude, 77.6 west. That puts the center of Dorian some 75 miles due east of Freeport, Grand Bahama. It now moving towards the west at a slow forward speed.
What can you tell us?
The air was thick with anticipation as our team prepared for what could become one of the most intense coverages we had ever undertaken.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think we're going to need Ricardo and Sheena to come up for the 8 p.m. show.
With every piece of equipment set and every plan meticulously laid out.
Teams dispatched. It's approaching both Grand Bahama and Abaco. We have to get up there.
We were ready, or so we thought.
And
And coverage continues from Grand Bahama right now.
Welcome back to our continued coverage of Hurricane Dorian, a monstrous Category 5 storm that is now making its way.
No amount of preparation could fully brace us for the storm that was about to descend. And when it did, the newsroom became a hive of activity, with every moment captured live as Dorian unleashed its fury.
We also had a team that was leaving the island, going to Abaco, getting them sorted out and making sure that they had all the equipment and supplies, food, and all the necessary things they needed while being off island as well.
Preparation's always basically the same from an engineering standpoint or looking at the facilities. Everybody that has a role in producing coverage or helping to produce the coverage, engineering's role really is just to ensure that whatever it is that they're working with, that it is able to work, that it's ready to work, and that it could stay working.
Among those on the front lines were the cameramen, tasked with capturing the unfolding crisis in real time. Armed with their gear and a sense of duty, they were ready to document history as it happened, no matter the risks. This is their story as they braced, knowing that their work would be the eyes of the nation.
It was what I would call a cameraman's dream, if that makes sense. You know, when we prepare for storms, most likely as a cameraman, you want to get into the action. So that was my first preparation, is just knowing that, listen, this time is go time. So one thing Zen has taught us is that family first. Make sure your family in order, your host has to be in order, because the first thing is that we have to now come to ZNS, we have to sleep. So first our action is safety for your family and making sure, listen, this go time, this is a storm, you want to get into the action, you want to get the nice shots, what you need, but we wasn't prepared for what was next.
My role was to capture what we call behind the scenes or content. All of that content was needed to be infused in the shows that we were going to develop. And I just recall working long hours. So for me, it was just a regular day at the office and just engage with what I was doing.
That day, I went to Dolly Madison. Fine gentleman allowed me to use his bond and get a generator, which I lost in the storm that night. But anyway, moving too fast. I purchased a generator, put it in the back of my car. I came to work. My kids were situated in Hudson. At that time, my 2 girls was down from Nassau, and my other 2 girls was here. So I situated them in Hudson, their snacks and their drinks and all that. And I told my wife, who was an under assistant, everything's gonna be all right. They're fine. They're gonna be okay.
What you think, Roger? What you see out there?
Me and Philippe, we worked together. We were teammates. So we checked the beach out. We got some early shots on the beach. I am worried, because I could see the calm before the storm. I walk out to the beach and check it out. Oh, it's okay. I'm saying it's okay, but I know something wasn't right. And I had a friend who I grew up with. His name is Jason Fernando. We were in contact. He lives in Chicago. All right, Jason, this is the night here. Storm's starting to come in. And he keeps saying to me, Roger, the storm don't look good. You have to take care of yourself, man. You have to secure yourself. You all have to batten down.
They say a gut feeling is often a glimpse of intuition at work, a subtle nudge from our instincts that guides us through uncertainty.
And it's closely approaching that east end Grand Bahama.
We all had that feeling. As Hurricane Dorian threatened the Bahamas, reporters made preparations to head into the heart of the storm, not fully aware of the challenges ahead.
We talked about those bands.
With the weight of their responsibility on their shoulders, they packed their gear, coordinated with their teams, and steeled themselves for the task of delivering vital information to the public. Each reporter knew that their role was crucial, not just in telling the story, but in keeping their community informed. and connected during the darkest of times.
Hurricane coverage of this dangerous storm.
This is how they
continues
prepared
with our
to answer the call of duty
counterparts
when it mattered most.
I packed my bag, and for some reason I said, before I get ready to go back to work, let me just lay down for a couple hours in my bed. I then lie across my mom's bed, and at the time, she was supposed to stay at home and keep my son. We had already purchased all of the snacks, all of the grocery, because they were going to ride out the storm at home. Maybe within 5 or 10 minutes, our television was on a national weather station, and the meteorologist came in with a breaking report.
Welcome back. We continue to track Hurricane Dorian at this hour as it moves
They
west.
did this simulation graphic where the water would possibly surge up to 20 to 25 feet.
Let's go even above that. 9 feet of storm surge. This kind of storm surge is not survivable unless you move to the higher floors of whatever structure you happen to be in.
And immediately I pitched up and I told my mom, I said, you can't stay here. And she said, well, you know, we'll ride it out. We rode out many storms here at home. Our house is situated over the bridge. And I said, you won't survive this storm if you decide to stay. She was stubborn and she said she was going to stay. I decided to pack up my son and I said, listen, if this is what you want to do, I cannot allow my son to perish because you're not going to make it. And so she said, oh, well, you know, we've done this before. And as I packed up my son and I packed my bags and put everything in the trunk, I started to drive off. At this point, she was outside and the guys were in the yard, you know, boarding up and doing whatnot. And I reversed and I said, why would you put your children through this? I said, how am I to go to work for 2 or 3 days? And if something happens, you'll be cut off. The bridge will be cut off. Please don't do this. And she said, okay, I'm gonna pack now and leave. My son and her ended up going by my brother's house, which is in the Freeport area. And so when she said, hey, we're here, a number of family members were there, everyone was going to ride out the storm, I felt much comfortable.
For me, first was to, when I got the phone call, that I needed to come in to help and get us through this thing, was to make sure that my family was straight. And so once they spoke to Judith, and Judith told Natalie, yeah, you could have him. Okay, but this one is for, you know, for you. Then it was a matter of making sure that they were okay and that they would be, you know, in a very safe environment and they would be okay. And once that happened, that was it. I also wanted to make sure that my laptop and everything was in order, because having the internet and being able to go to the NOAA website and be able to track Dorian consistently, you know, was very, very important to me. All the rain gear and everything else that we needed to have.
I was excited. You know, at the time, I was single. I wasn't married as yet. I started with myself. And so I was looking forward to coming out of the house and being able to, at the time, just work, get as many hours. That's what you're thinking, right? Get as much hours working the storm while getting some experience as well, too. And so, pack my bags. I don't know if it's at morning or night. Pack my bags ready to be here for at least 2 to 3 days, I'm thinking, at least. And so I had you know, the toiletries, the deodorant, the toothpaste. I had my vehicle. I left my apartment locked, a condo at the time, locked, and making sure that everything that I needed. I had my passport with me.
At the time, I don't think anyone knew or had any idea of what was to come, but the expectation and the anticipation of the fact that something was coming was certainly in the air. And I remember just going home and preparing, packing a bag, and just waiting on the phone call. And eventually, that call came, and it was like, come to work.
Worst of news for Grand Bahama Island. Catastrophic winds for at least 24 hours.
As the severity of Hurricane Dorian became increasingly apparent, our focus shifted to tracking its progress and preparing for its arrival. The shock intensified when calls began coming in from the capital, reporting early signs of flooding.
Calling from New Providence. All right, tell me what's going on in your area.
We just have the rain and the wind.
I don't even think it was an hour after the set that we started getting phone calls from Nassau. And the people from Nassau were calling because the hurricane shelters were closed. And they had already started experiencing flooding. Now, Nassau was never in the direct path of Hurricane Dorian. And so when we started getting the phone calls that, you know, hey, we need help, we're in these different areas in Nassau, or my car stalled out. One of the other calls we got was from an older lady. She said, I'm home. I think it was Yamacraw, but I could be mistaken. And she said, the water is coming up and no one is here to save me. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, Nassau? So instinctively I'm saying, if this storm is already doing this to Nassau and Nassau is not in the direct path, we are in trouble. Evanstown reporting up to 10 feet of water. That information just coming in, up to 10 feet of water.
Even though we heard about the floodings in Nassau, because, you know, you have a lot of low-lying areas, Pinewood and so, you know, so forth, those areas flood. You know, but really and truly, when we started to get those reports out of Abaco, you know, then I really, really got concerned.
Images coming out of Abaco earlier today. We heard total devastation on that. The whole roof came off.
The water's high, and people in Abaco saying, Grand Bahama, please take this storm seriously. This is a dangerous storm. Total fear came over me because my family's from Abaco. Not only that my sister was there, I had cousins and stuff who lived in Abaco, and my mind and my heart just went out to them.
So we had some colleagues in Abaco. We couldn't hear from them. So I'm trying to figure out, you know, I said, I know they're alive, but you can't hear from them. And then at that time, at that point, you had no communication.
I had a lot of friends in Abaco as well, too. Being a lot of teammates I played basketball with at my high school days from Sunland. And then, you know, I was a journalist, and they started sending me videos and updates. That's when I realized it was going to be a serious storm.
I honestly believe more people died than what was recorded. There had to have been maybe hundreds undocumented people who went missing and who didn't survive that storm, because the story we're hearing, it don't add up. The story we're hearing, people getting swept away. The story we're hearing that this one is missing, and when you go back and you look at the police report, we don't have these people documented.
After hearing and seeing videos of Hurricane Dorian's assault on Abaco and receiving warnings from Abaconians urging Grand Bahamians to prepare, the reality of the storm hit home for us at ZNS.
So what we're seeing is at this Howland Gregory complex.
The gravity of the situation became unmistakably clear.
This can't be real, but I ain't never been.
When we heard about the storm and the magnitude of it and how catastrophic it was going to be, everyone was told to, you know, abandon their initial areas that they were stationed at and to be in the newsroom. And so that made work even more difficult because we had to go out at specific moments and not necessarily be stationed in an area where we can report from, but we all were out scattered abroad throughout the island before the storm actually came, and just getting stories, getting interviews from people who were preparing from the Southern District, and the Western District, and the Eastern District, and the Central Freeport area, just getting stories, and that was the mandate, get content.
A few times I was asked to go and do some reports. I remember going on, I think it was Xanadu Beach. I had an assignment out there. Right before the storm came that night, I saw the waves. The winds were picking up speed.
Right now we have our Jay Philippe standing by.
Hurricane Dorian is certainly making its presence here in Grand Bahama. As you would have known, the storm is still a Category 5 with sustained winds of 185 miles per hour.
That's when I said, you know what, this is going to be a real storm.
But we are officially in hurricane condition.
You see these reporters who are outside in the weather stations in the States, and they're outside and they're braving the elements, and they're out there and they're telling their stories. And so I looked at it as one of those moments where I could go outside and kind of do that. And when I got out there, it wasn't nothing to play with.
Right now we have something from our Ramiko Knowles. Take it away, Ramiko.
The wind speed really is pushing my body. I could barely stand up out here, and we are just beginning to feel the initial impact of the storm. We would not advise anybody to go outside, and this is ridiculous, and I don't want to be here.
I said I did not want to be here. And at the time, everyone was laughing.
Studios in Rumiko, you couldn't say it any better. I do not want to be here. But like
It kind of brought some humor to the newscasts, especially, or to the shows, especially after we started getting those reports about people and how they were losing their homes and flooding and so on and so forth. And everybody was just laughing at that time. And I was serious, but people started messaging me, telling me, oh, we needed that laugh. And so the whole country apparently was laughing at that. By the time Hurricane Dorian reached the Grand Bahama, the team had already been delivering continuous live coverage on TV and radio for hours. Reporters had been tirelessly gathering news stories for the broadcasts, while video editors compiled footage from the internet, capturing the storm's impact as shared by those already in its path. After a day had passed, the team was utterly exhausted, yet not a single person paused their work, not even for a moment.
When I looked outside and I saw that the water had come all the way from the northern shore all the way inland to us, okay? And looking, I said, okay, where I parked my vehicle was gonna be a good spot. But when I looked over and I saw that, no, it was underwater, I couldn't even see it, then I realized that this is real. And that was the shocker right there. People in the Hudson Estate area and the other areas have to endure. And as far as this went over to Mary Star, this is not good, because that's a lot of water that's come across. And then we saw the video that came in from the Central Police Station, all the police cars all underwater.
It's the entrance of the police yard. Water, can't even drive through that no more.
And well, we knew what was happening at the airport. You know, that was definitely going to be, that's a bull. But for the water to come inland that far, as it was pushed counterclockwise and the winds coming in, and as the storm stood there and just pushed this water, that's it, you know. And so that, when I looked outside, I was like, holy cow, this is gonna be long, very long.
Build your body. Terror broke loose in me. Immediately, I jumped in my vehicle and drove to Hudson. When I got through Hudson, we only had like minutes for me to grab everyone, which was, it had to been like 8 of them. My mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, my 4 kids. And screamed to them. They're looking for stuff. I said, so I'm urging them, we need to move now. Let's go now. And I'm screaming to them like they were children. My wife in El Salvador, she's now panicking. She's calling around because she's hearing all this news that Hudson is underwater. She know her kids there. The police bus pull in. I had to put everyone on the police bus. Police bus started to pull off. They got flooded. I had to take my kids off the police bus. I got one in this hand, one in that hand, and my brother-in-law, Mado, has 2. He have 2, I have 2, and we walking through the storm. When I get at the corner, my father-in-law was there with his truck, and we put them on the truck. I felt a lot better at the time. They then moved to Seahorse, so I came back to work. At this time, it's just getting worse and worse because the storm actually stopped.
Barely moving. That thing is inching over the Grand Bahama Island right now at only 1 mile per hour.
That stalling business, it's like, why are you still here? Why is it still here? Move, you know? I think that's what everyone was saying. It's like, it has this personality. It wants to just deal with the Bahamas.
I was just in absolute awe. I couldn't understand it. I didn't even know that it was possible for a storm to just hover over you.
When Hurricane Dorian struck the island of Grand Bahama, our homes, our communities, and our spirits were put to the ultimate test. We found a strength within us, a resilience that defines who we are. In the wake of Dorian, The Grand Bahama Disaster Relief Foundation, founded by the Grand Bahama Port Authority, stepped up to the challenge. We provided relief to thousands of residents, from food to clothing and personal hygiene products to repairing homes, with the addition of furniture and appliances. We worked tirelessly to restore the city of Freeport and collaborated with NGOs to assist with relief efforts across the entire island. During this hurricane season, let's stay prepared, informed, and most importantly, united, because together we will continue to rise.
Doctors Hospital's reimagined primary care. We have invested to improve our health system, ensuring that accessible, affordable, world-class clinical care is closer to you. Your relationship with a primary care provider shapes the foundation of your overall health. Our new, modern primary care facilities are where critical diagnosis and true personalized treatment begin. With locations in Freeport and 8 Mile Rock, we invite you to experience the Doctors Hospital difference. Book your next appointment at clinics.doctorshos.com.
Behind every broadcast was a team pushing the limits of endurance, coordinating with precision, and supporting each other through the toughest hours. The unsung heroes, the cameramen, the directors, the producers, the hosts, reporters, and other staff preparing meals for the team were all working in harmony to keep the flow of information steady.
We have just spent over $207,000, maybe $300,000 on equipment on the upgrade. We had water 2-3 inches on the floor that we could not afford to damage the equipment. I went downstairs, I got a drive vac from the building manager, gave me a drive vac. We started sucking up water out of the studio and out of master control.
As you know, the building was inundated with water, at least maybe almost like 2 feet of water on the bottom floor. Being on the 3rd floor, my only concern was that power held out, which it did not. The generator outside was inundated with water as well. So we had to revert to using battery packs. And so those hold up as long as they did. As soon as the water subsided, we were able to get the generator up, I think, a day later. We were able to get running again, and we was able to get power going. But in the moment, from my standpoint, it's just a matter of keeping everything going, all right, as long as you possibly could. All right, we had the conditions deteriorated like they did, and it wasn't a normal storm, I guess you could say that. But that was the main concern. That was the thinking, just to stay on it.
I was helping Mr. Colley, who was the building manager, and so he recognized that we have sockets, power sockets that are on the ground, and so he realized that with the generator going, those sockets are still live. So here we are in 2 foot of water, trying to look for breakers, not allow us to become electrocuted. But here we are in the water already. You know, sometimes you put yourself in danger and you don't even realize you're in the danger. But we were in the danger, and we went through the water, and we slowly cut off breakers and turning off power at certain points.
At that moment, we were still working doing shows. I think we did like 17 hours shows. And at that time, radio was going on. So who was an assistant during the shows? You had to assist doing the radio. I think at the time I was doing audio, and then I helped get some stuff in the studio. The studio caught water, so we had a lot of water in the studio. So I remember helping a couple of my colleagues, them wipe up the water in the studio. The only thing I could do was pray, and I did show up pray that day. And at the time, praying and still working, because we still was doing shows. So I commend all the team, because we still had to keep the shows going. So working kept me occupied. And when you working and you're still trying to figure what's going on, but you just keep on working, trying to get the job done. And like I say, ZNS team, my ZNS team, they have a different state of mind. That's all I can say. I felt that after the hurricane, everyone was supposed to go see a psychiatrist. That's how I felt, because we've been going through plenty.
Region C in Grand Bahama is flooding, and that his family just got about 2.5 feet of water.
Oh my gosh, look how high the water is, though. That's covering people's heads.
Trying to call my wife, say everything good, and then you're hearing this one stuck in the roof, and ain't nothing the police could do with this one going. So it was a scary situation. So at that time, only thing I could do was say, boy, Father God, I don't know what's going on, but like I say, all you could do was pray. Up here was crazy. People, you know what, when you're in a situation where you want to help, but you can't help, and you don't know what to do, so all you could do is pray.
It really isn't safe to be out in these streets.
This was our first opportunity to get out and see what was actually going on. And we left and we went around because the water had already come up the Mall Road. And we were like, wow.
Right now, you can tell that the water is actually rising. The water level is actually rising in the downtown area. There's a lot of debris that's flying around. Trees are swaying.
And as we drove through areas like almost by Mayfield Park, by Sunland School area, we realized that this place is flooded. Water is up to the door of the Jeep. You know, and we wondered how we're gonna get through this.
Dominic Nixon and I, cameraman at the time, we were asked to go and shoot some rescues that were taking place at the bridge. Bear in mind, the weather was still really, really bad, but we took a chance to try and get out there to get some images, and I was just amazed at the tidal surge, just how high that water was. And persons were coming in payloaders, heavy-duty trucks, like big tractors and stuff, jet skis, and I was just out there filming, you know, and just trying to capture as much as I could as it happened.
My daughter both were messaging me and telling me exactly how they were doing and what was going on. Plus, thank goodness for my neighbors who were there, and they too kept me informed, and they told me, don't worry, Rick, we got them. Okay, and so when you talk about neighbors and how important they are in helping you out, that's what they did for me. And so once they called me and tell me, listen, Judith and the girls are fine, and your son, everybody's good. You do what you're doing. We're listening. You do what you got to do, but we got this, okay? I know that you're doing something for the country. You're going to be okay.
I was a director during our live coverage. We were directing for, in some cases, 12 or I think at one point we went for 18 hours, right? Directing and hearing all the horror stories from persons who wanted rescue and even seeing our host, Sheena, was impacted live on air. You know, when she came to tears, when her sister needed to be rescued.
To get us cleared up.
And I'm just getting this message, number 18 Vallejo Loop. It's a greenhouse. Worrell Russell, who is my nephew, and his family, they're outside and they need to be rescued. So that's my sister, my niece, and my nephew, and of course.
Hang in there, hang in there. We're gonna get that information.
Thank God for two very, very good co-hosts who were able to say, just take a second, and they carried on. And I took about, maybe I'd say 5 minutes, and I told myself, I just said, you gotta get back into it, you gotta get back into it, because people need help. At this point, I'm reading off all of the messages about people who are dying. My neighbors over the bridge who had 2-story homes, they were already in the ceiling of the second floor. So I knew that the entire over the bridge probably was decimated. And so my mind was so far gone at that point. And I'm like, I don't know who is surviving this, but we just have to continue to push.
We have crews out there that's making some things happen. We're trying our best to be able to get as much information as we can to you and to family and friends. And this is difficult for us because we have family and friends.
Just before that happened, I received a phone call from my brother, and he said, and he's in the Arden Forest area, if you know Freeport. Well, we didn't expect Freeport to be flooded either. So Arden Forest is a relatively safe area. And he said, hey, we have to move the family and everyone that's here, we have to move because we're starting to flood. And my son at the time probably was only 10. And I'm saying, okay, where are y'all going? And they didn't know where they were going. And then communication was cut. And so before I got a call that my other siblings were in trouble, my mind was already unsettled because I didn't know what was happening with my son. And I just remember saying to myself, like, my brother already has 4 children. And his hands would be so full trying to save. Hold on, let me cut that.
A lot of us, we need to decompress from what happened to Dorian. And I don't think any of us has fully did the therapy or took advantage of basically getting ourselves to where we should be right now. But Dorian is still impacting, I think, a lot of us.
Where I going back from, they were asking me to, if I wanted to take a break and come down, and I couldn't, because at that point, I knew personally what I was dealing with, but I also understood what Grand Bahama and Abaco, what we all were dealing with. My situation really was no different from anyone else's. We were able to, at that time, connect because, as we said before, we became the EOC. And so we started connecting families who were calling from Abaco who had been separated during the floodwaters. And so one person would say, hey, I'm so-and-so, and can you please let my family know we were separated, but I'm okay. So we were, at that point, still giving hope to families who thought that they'd lost their loved ones because they were separated during the storm. And so it's an adrenaline. I think it was just a push by the Holy Spirit to say, you gotta keep going. Whatever's going on out there, you can't change it. But at this time, the people of the Bahamas, they need you.
I had to basically stop working for ZNS for hours because my cell phone ended up as an emergency contact. And so many people started calling me. So many people started messaging me and asking for help, saying that they were in their ceilings, saying that they were on top of their counters. One person called, said, she's outside, please send help. And I looked at Natalie and I said, I can't work up here. Too many people are calling me. And she said to me to go downstairs and work with Nemo and the people in EOC. I remember this guy being in his ceiling and he sent me this message to say, hey, I can't reach my family and I understand that this is an emergency contact number to please send this message to my daughter because I don't think I'm gonna make it. And he was in his ceiling at the time. And I honestly can't come into this building, I didn't expect any of that. So that was difficult to deal with and trying to calm people down and let them know that you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. And he was like, the water is like now at my ankles and I'm in the ceiling. I don't think I'm gonna make it. And I honestly don't know if he did. I don't know who the person was. I still don't know if that person made it. And I'm talking to people in front of me at Nemo, and I'm like, we have to do something. We have to go and help these people. We have to get help to them. And they're there like, they're holding their heads, and everybody is so overwhelmed because these calls didn't stop. It was consistent. And as much as you wanted to help people, you couldn't. Everybody, it was nothing you could do.
There was a situation with a family where, I don't know, like at times I felt I wasn't doing enough, or I wasn't doing what I said I was doing. And so at one point when a family member called me, I told them to hold on. And I walked downstairs on the ground floor to the command center with the phone open so that they can hear me talking to the authorities down there. And I gave them the family's name. And they said, we have this name like 17 times already. She said, no one can go out. So, and then people, as you know, saying that that phone's gonna die. This is going to be the last call.
That was tough, but I said to myself, everybody knows that there are no heroes in the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas. We're workers. And so we're not going to take any unwanted chance and do anything, you know, crazy. And I think that's what helped us a lot for that to happen, you know. June to November is a very crazy time of the year, but it's also a responsibility that we take seriously, and I've always done so from day one. Every cameraman, every reporter, every editor, every radio technician, engineer, everybody, because you have to leave your families and then come and take care of the people of the Bahamas and dissemination of information. That's a responsibility. That either you're gonna have to bite the bullet to do this or change careers. This is not a job, this is a career.
Doctors Hospital is reimagined primary care. We have invested to improve our health system, ensuring that accessible, affordable, world-class clinical care is closer to you. Your relationship with a primary care provider shapes the foundation of your overall health. Our new, modern primary care facilities are where critical diagnosis and true personalized treatment begin. With locations in Freeport and 8 Mile Rock, we invite you to experience the Doctors Hospital difference. Book your next appointment at clinics.doctorshos.com.
When Hurricane Dorian struck the island of Grand Bahama, our homes, our communities, and our spirits were put to the ultimate test. We found a strength within us, a resilience that defines who we are. In the wake of Dorian, the Grand Bahama Disaster Relief Foundation, founded by the Grand Bahama Port Authority, stepped up to the challenge. We provided relief to thousands of residents, from food to clothing and personal hygiene products to repairing homes, with the addition of furniture and appliances. We worked tirelessly to restore the city of Freeport and collaborated with NGOs to assist with relief efforts across the entire island. During this hurricane season, let's stay prepared, informed, and most importantly, united, because together we will continue to rise.
Keep praying for us. We know that you are a woman of great faith. We thank you for the prayers.
After more than 72 hours of continuous coverage and relentless work, it was time to face the reality of what awaited us at home.
How y'all doing?
We took a brief moment to reunite with our families, but for some of our news team members, there was nothing left to return to.
Oh my God. Oh, Sheila. Sheila, we don't have nothing. We don't have nothing. Driving over the bridge, I recognized that I was probably going to a home that I probably wouldn't recognize. But when we got there and we still was able to see the watermark, and when you saw how high it was, I'm like, I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't imagining this. And on one hand, it's like, I remember feeling like, where y'all going tonight? Because essentially, I'm homeless, and the people around me don't have a place to stay. So I knew that I didn't even know where we were going to lay our heads. That's number one. And then I remember saying to myself, what if I didn't push hard enough for my mom and my son to leave home? I would not have a home to go back to, but then I would also not have a son, and I would be without a mother. And then sometimes, you know, when you look at things that way, it starts to connect. And through it all, I remember a sense of gratefulness. We didn't have anything except for the clothes on our backs and the couple pieces that we packed.
I
remember that day. It was like, you know, packing up your stuff, pillows, you know, blankets, everything that you brought, your clothing, and just leaving. Happy to reunite with your family. But, you know, like sometimes after a hurricane, in the past, our biggest problem for some people, for most people, may just be no water, no light. But you realize that this time it was different. People were gone, people were missing. You started to hear stories that didn't sound, it just sounded like a movie.
You know, sometimes we may clown around and say there's people here, you know, good. But the things that we have endured and went through is ridiculous. From death of our team members and hurricanes such as this, and we still continue to push. So I have the utmost respect for Sandnes personnel, grandmama especially. They have a love for their job. And the love for their job, I think, keeps us going. And I think that's why we can do what we do, and we do it to the best of our abilities.
As I reflect on this event, I would not want to experience this ever again. I think a lot of us are still traumatized by what is taking place. And I think that, that this will be something that will be etched in our lives for a very, very long time.
Seeing that sun come up and the storm being over, all the wind and everything died down, that brought a ray of hope and the possibility of a new beginning.
I just want my colleagues to know that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. And we're gonna come out of this. We lost our cars. I pray to God my home is in the top. My clothes. I bought a brand new generator from Dolly Madison. You give me a credit, Dolly? I was so happy that I was alive, and the death toll could have been much greater than what we had. My heart went out to those who lost their life, but I was appreciative that I was alive, and I could have see my colleagues and talk to them and hug them. I told them I loved them. I said, listen, man, you all might think this is a joke, but every day we ought to tell each other that we love each other, because we don't know when it's our last.
I don't ever want to experience these storms, but like I said, it's just a part of the job. If I'm here, then you have to cover it. All right? But if I'm not here and not have to cover it, then I don't know if I would go out willingly and you know, just be a servant. No, I wouldn't want to do it, but it's a part of the job.
You know, being in the hurricane belt, we understand that is a possibility for us every year. And so physically and mentally, at this point, we should be somewhat, you know, our minds should be engaged that this is a possibility and we may have to go through a hurricane. And you pray for the best. But the deaths and the missing people,
This entity is essential to the well-being of the Bahamians. And that's why I tell people, you know, when we go to hurricane warnings and alerts, everybody else go home. We do the exact opposite. We come to work because we come to make sure that the residents and the people of the Bahamas get the right information and that they are not left alone. They can depend upon us. They can depend on the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas to be there for them, not just in good times, but also in difficult times. All the stories we did after the storm, and they were gut-wrenching in many cases, you know, to explain to people this is what happens. But that's what we are here for. This is what we do. This is what we do every day, that we come in here, day in, day out. They say, but yeah, but that's your job. Yeah, it is our job. But we take this job very seriously. And when we give you all of us, we I want you to appreciate what we have sacrificed. What we have sacrificed for the people who sit there and watch, or the people who are listening. And this sacrifice that we have made with Dorian and will do into the future is great. We just want people to understand and appreciate what we do as broadcasters, what we do every day.
I never want to experience something like this again. Never. Never. Jesus.
The storm may be over, but the story of the team that sacrificed everything to answer the call of duty will never fade. Their story is one of sacrifice and commitment, ensuring that the truth was told even as the storm raged around them. We hope this glimpse of their experience has shed light on their extraordinary efforts behind the scenes. In the Eye of the Newsroom.
Yeah, yeah. Ooh, yeah, yeah. Feel like the way the world is turning. Something inside is always yearning. Yearning for a brand new world. People everywhere are so confused. Leaders don't know what to do now. Oh, how we want a brand new world. Though we send rockets to the moon and the stars, and though we make ships and planes that go very far, there's not a mountain that man hasn't climbed, but a brand new world he could never find. So, if you want a brand new world, you gotta have a brand new people. If you want a brand new people, you gotta have a brand new life. Oh, if you want a brand new life, you gotta have a brand new spirit. And if you want a brand new spirit, you gotta come to Jesus Christ. People are trying everything they could, but I wonder if they ever would find themselves a brand new world. An old man sitting in the barroom door still can't find what he is searching for. Oh, how he wants a brand new world. Yeah. A brand new world begins with me and you. But we'll never find it in the things that we do. No. Jesus promised a world that's our own, like Jesus. And he invites us to come along. So if you wanna, if you wanna, come on and yeah. He wants you to come, yeah. Come to Jesus. If you want a brand new world, all you got to do. Oh, yeah. Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on, yeah, 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 yeah. He's waiting on you, yeah. A brand new spirit, oh, yeah. Come to Jesus, yeah. If you want him, if you want him, if you want him, if you want him, you gotta come, you gotta come, you gotta come.
You're watching the ZNS Network, the People's Station.
You are a calm and graceful presence.